Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the AI for Good Global Summit, all year, always online. I hope that you, your family, friends, colleagues are all staying healthy and safe. My name is Ahmed Riyad from the ITU, the International Telecommunication Union, and I have the privilege of facilitating the session today. The ITU is the United Nations Specialized Agency for ICTs, and we are also the organizers of the AI for Good Global Summit, alongside with XPRIZE Foundation, 38 United Nations organizations, ACM, and co-convened by Switzerland. The goal of the summit is to identify practical applications of artificial intelligence that can help achieving the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations and scaling those applications to a global impact. Like most of the world, the AI for Good Summit has gone digital. So we're moving forward with weekly online programming that allowed us to reach even much more people throughout 2020. Today is a very, very special session. Today is the Innovation Factory Grand Finale. The Innovation Factory has the aim of identifying the most innovative solutions, startups, scale-ups that uses AI to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and building this inclusive and diverse community of idea innovators and startup that can really unleash the potential of artificial intelligence towards the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So throughout the year, we had a lot of pitching sessions. We have more than 200 applications from 60 countries that applied to the Innovation Factory. All were very solid AI solutions that can help one or more of the Sustainable Development Goals. These application has made, the really good application had made it to the second step, which is a pitching videos kind of pitch where our jury of experts has to evaluate these kind of videos, and we got 50 videos out of those 200 applications, and we selected 36 of these videos to actually be with us on a live pitching sessions throughout the year. So we had 7 pitching sessions throughout the year that featured 36 of the most innovative startups. And we had all this aggregated in a very rigorous selection process with our jury of experts evaluating them across factors that evaluated their AI solution, their social impact, their business model and scalability potential, and of course, the capability of the team who can take the startup forward. And across these 36 startup who made it to the live pitching session, today in the grand finale, we have the top 4. So today we have the top startups who scored the highest scores throughout the Innovation Factory year of 2020. And today, we're not going to only have these 4 startups present once again and present the solution, pitch the solution to select the winner. Today, we're also going to ask the attendees, all the audience, to actually be voting. And we're going to have a live vote for these audience for you to actually select your best startup out of these 4 startups. So today we're going to have 4 experts, but actually 5 judges, because the 5th judge is actually you. So we look forward to our very interactive session, and we really count on your active participation. And speaking of active participation, I would like to have a very interesting exercise, and it's the first challenge for you and for interactivity today. So I would like you to use the chat right now and to type in which city or country you're connected from. I'll start with myself. So today, I'm connecting from Geneva. I can see London, from Germany, from Frankfurt, from Barcelona, from Rotterdam, Munich, Paris, Colombia, Lisbon, Dubai, Brussels. Well, global audience for a global summit, I can see. That's perfect. So we're very happy today. We're going to have, as I told you, the 4 startups who will be featured as the innovation champions of the AI for Good Innovation Factory 2020. We're also going to have very interesting announcements from our judges today. And we're also going to have 4 judges, but don't forget the 5th judge is you. So at the end of the 4 pitches, we'd ask you to actually vote for your best startup. And the collective audience voting would be weighted as 20% of the total votes, because it's 1 judge out of 5, right? So without further ado, I think I'll go forward and introduce our first judge of today, who is a great help and support throughout the year, and he is Joseph Hopkins, the Senior Managing Director of iPrestige and Phoenix Technologies. Joseph, thank you very much, and welcome to the AI for Good Innovation Factory Grand Finale.
Great to see you again, Ahmed. Always a pleasure. And I see that Fred has joined us as well. He heads up ITU, so congratulations. Look, I'm so thrilled with all the work you guys have done, and congratulations. This has been, look, 2020 has been tough for everybody. And you guys have knocked it out of the park because you've kept these events going and even done the summit in a very virtual way. So I'm really very pleased and pleased to be associated with what you guys are doing. So congratulations.
We're really happy to have you. I mean, today and all actually the times before where you were, you worked with us very hard in the pitching sessions. And I remember we had a meeting last year in 2019 in Geneva at the ITU headquarters, and the Innovation Factory was just an idea, right? And and look where we are now. So now we're in this grand finale. And just to give you a quick how we see this innovation factory so far. So we see this as the platform where we can really identify startups and scale-ups who has a very solid AI solution that can really help achieving the sustainable development goals. I know you have a lot of kind of funding programs, and you have a very extensive network of investors and VCs, and we discussed a lot if you can kind of support or take one or more of these innovation champions forward and help them really scale and open new markets for them. And I remember you explained a lot of things, and you said it actually case by case basis, and you can tailor many of these programs based on the startup itself. So can you give us a little bit of idea about these kind of funding programs, and if there's something that maybe right on the fly right now you would be happy to offer, or something for these innovation champions?
Well, you know, I'm excited about it. At the appropriate time, maybe as we end the introductory discussions, I can get into specifically what we have for today. But we've, as I told you, we're very supportive of what the ITU is doing. I thought this whole idea of an innovation factory, a fantastic idea, and I told you that we would be there with you every step of the way. This is year one. I'm really looking forward also to year two, because I'm hoping that COVID starts to go away and we can really enjoy 2021. I think we're all looking forward to that. But I'm looking forward to kind of sharing with you briefly some of what we have decided to do relative to a big thank you to the UN, ITU, as well as a big appreciation for all of these wonderful what I call smart tech companies, right? I mean, it's amazing. You started out with 200 and then you got it down to 50, and then you really focused on the 36. But effectively, let me just give you the backdrop, because this will help as we start to lay out what we have offered for these folks. Basically, we believe that smart tech technology, what we call deep tech, so that's AI, what's called digital identity authentication, advanced encryption, data security. You're going to start to see a lot of changes over the next probably 2 to 5 years, dramatic changes. We all are affected, whether you're in the space or not, we're all affected by it in terms of what we use in terms of our devices, whether laptops or mobile devices, et cetera. And so what we decided to do, I wanted to approach it from really two perspectives. One is from a financier perspective, to where companies that are doing smart technology development, we wanted to effectively be able to provide them funding. Funding is largely around providing investment as well as debt service. And we also wanted to make sure that we can promote a good way of doing this work, right? So we have an advisory arm. So in addition to my fund called the iPrestige Emerge Fund, we also have an advisory firm, which is called Fall Links. So there's some thinking behind why we came up with that name. It's kind of an interesting name, but it's largely an advisory firm that's focused on helping companies make sure that they're protected from an intellectual property perspective. We also want to make sure we take a look at the technology to really make sure from an acceleration perspective, we can help them get it to the marketplace. So we're used to working with early stage companies from an incubation perspective. We take a look at the technology. We then work with them from basically a go-to-market strategy and execution perspective, get it to the marketplace, help them flip it into commercial events. The faster they get to the market, the faster we think we can start to realize our dream relative to where we think these markets are heading, deep tech markets are heading in the future over the next 3 to 5 years. Our whole notion is that we think you can take your intellectual property that you use or that you invested in to protect your company, to also use that to actually fuel monies, working capital monies for you as well. So the notion is you can take your intellectual property. We actually do valuations on that. You take our valuation, work on that. We actually work with insurance companies who actually further certify, underwrite that. And then we actually have a host of capital management partners, really, frankly, across the world. And they literally will then go and source funds on behalf of our clients. And so the notion there is that we will make working capital available to those clients using their IP, using their intelligence that they created their technology with. And so that's the notion. So our notion is we like what you're doing. We want you to hang on to it, control your companies, get it to the marketplace. And the more we can help you fuel that by leveraging what you've created, i.e. your intellectual property, by us doing evaluations and working with capital management partners, that's where you want to do this. So that's what we're all about. That's what we're all about. Yeah.
That's great. So I'm sure, I'm gonna put you in touch with the 4 innovation champions of today, and I'm sure we can take it from there as a beginning. But I think you also said that there's some sort of, something you can offer right now. From an advisory perspective, even from some possibility of funding later on. And I'm looking to my colleagues here if they would like to share the slide you sent us, and you can just explain if there's something that you can offer right away.
Absolutely, yeah, and this is really a very, very small token again of our gratitude. Is the slide showing yet?
Let me check. Yes, it is.
Very good. Okay, so this is a very, very small token of our gratitude. Our really just a big thank you on behalf of the UN as well as to the contestants. So what we wanted to do is recognize all the contestants. Look, a tremendous amount of work you folks have done, a really good job. Like, it's not easy starting a company, and to be able to sort of power the company, scale these companies in the midst of a pandemic is really impressive. And so congratulations to all these companies. And it's really amazing. I'm looking forward to hearing these pitches, but effectively we have someone who's really focused on trying to deal with malnutrition. And then we've got, dealing with agriculture in a really smart way, waste management, working with robots and deep learning, which is interesting, and also clean air. So this is all good. And on top of all of that, they're doing this promoting SDGs, right? They're doing this promoting the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So this is really impressive. So what we want to do is this. We want to make sure that we recognize this by doing a few things. Number one, for all the contestants, we work with the line of work that we're involved in. We work with a number of different hardcore, all they work on are deep tech investments. So these are companies that they invest in companies year round. That's what they do. And we work with a bunch of top tier companies around the world. And so what we want to do is, and I'll work with Ahmed, you in terms of structuring this. What we want to do is basically make some pitching sessions whereby which these 4 companies can go and actually pitch to these investment companies. You certainly don't need any coaching from me, but those of you who may want some, actually, it's a little different, I think, pitching in an environment like this as opposed to pitching for professional, hardcore, investors. And so we can probably give you some help for those of you that may want it. In addition, what we'll do is we are an advisory company, and we actually work with a variety of different clients in this space, trying to help them tailor, situate their technology and get it ready for the marketplace. And by the way, if you're in the marketplace, we'll help you actually scale that. And what we want to do is basically offer up about $7,500 to each contestant. So you'll get that automatically just by being here today. And that's roughly about 25 to 30 hours of our time. So this is something we will just make available to everyone for just participating in this really wonderful event. Then number 2, what we want to do is we want to recognize the top contestant. So I mentioned to you how we're involved with doing IP evaluations. And so there's costs associated with that. And anyone who have an interest in doing that, certainly we'd love to offer our services, but specifically to the top contestant, we'll make that service available to you, and we'll take off about $30,000 off of that. That's important for anyone who wants to do these things, because again, if you want to take advantage of it, like what's called these non-dilutive financing programs, usually you have to have some kind of evaluation done, whether by our firm or someone else. So we happen to use our firm who specializes in the space. We'll give you 30 grand off that. And then lastly, what we want to do here is, because I think if you think about what this event is all about, it's really about recognizing good innovation. That's what this is all about, right? And this is what our company is all about. Our company is all about getting folks to protect what you've developed and using that protection to ultimately help you get to the marketplace. And so I have an interest in actually going a little deeper with each of the companies here. And what we want to basically do is take a look at you. We'll do this in fairly quick fashion, but we like to actually look at each company and basically recognize the company that demonstrates the most near-term success relative to market interest and acceptance. And whoever that is, and that's around good IP, as well as having technology that's ready for the marketplace. And whoever that is, you'll get a little bit of a cash bonus for us. That's probably good for a nice dinner someplace with your team. And that's designed. And I can tell you, Ahmed, to close this off, we're committed to this, and we'll plan on appreciably improving that 3,500 next year, because I think this is going to be a really knockout event heading into 2021.
Thanks very much, Joseph. That's very interesting and generous. We didn't expect it, and I think it's just the beginning, as you just said, just something to start with, and then when I put you in touch with the 4 innovation champions, we can really open it up for your network of like companies and investors that you just mentioned. Again, thanks very much for iPrestige and for following these technologies, and really moving forward with our next judge and talking about help and support. And my next judge is definitely Stephen Buraki. I mean, Stephen is ACM board member, past chair. He's a general partner at Reds Capital, and it's not about that only. Actually, Stephen was with us since the beginning. I'm not talking about the Innovation Factory. I'm talking about the AI for Good Summit as a whole since 2017. He's been advising us, supporting us, and like really putting the foundation of most of what we're doing right now. So, Stephen, thank you very much for being with us today.
You know, Ahmed, it's a real pleasure. I'm a real believer in AI for Good. Definitely the biggest movement in the world for solutions across every major sector, and I'm very much aligned with the SDGs. So you have the finest team in the world, the finest program in the world, backed by governments, industry, academia. It's just incredible and amazing. So I'm chairman and general partner of Reds Capital. And we are so impressed with what you're doing that we're thinking, you know what? We typically look at less than 1 in 100,000 startups that we think qualify and are considered for a due diligence. What we're going to do is we're going to open that process for all 4 innovation champions today. So they're automatically in. They don't have to go through this filter of 1 in 100,000. They're automatically into our investment program. And this is, again, due to our strong belief in AI for Good and the AI for Good Innovation Factory. And I should mention, by the way, this is under your transformational leadership, Ahmed, and your amazing AI for Good team. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to automatically put all 4 champions into this program, and we'll go through a due diligence process of looking at all aspects of the 4 champions, and we'll give feedback, and providing, passes the due diligence process, then we'll invest. And we're targeting probably the best time frame will be Q2 2021, because of the vaccines and things like that. We'd like to get a little bit of movement in the space, but that's our intention. Of course, it has to go through due diligence, pass that process, and we do have to have a majority vote of our investment committee. But during this meantime, we definitely want to offer mentorship to the champions. I have a network of about 100,000 CEOs worldwide, and a network of over 20,000 investors. And we definitely will mentor in terms of help to guide the champions, the 4 finalists, also do introductions where we think it'll be helpful, and so on. Now, let's say, for example, and it could happen, we decide not to fund for some reason, we will still continue to help. We think it's a lifetime journey of commitment. So we'll do introductions to other channels, to corporations, things like that we think are a good fit. And I want to offer something else, and I'd like to offer, myself, I've been doing interviews going globally for the last 30 years, and I will interview each one of the champions, and it'll appear in some of the biggest technology nonprofits today. For example, it'll appear in the IEEE ecosystem. Of course, they have over 400,000 members. My interviews appear also with the ACM, which is #1 in computing science. We have something like over 4 million participants and added nonprofits. So I'll interview each one of the champions to make sure they're magnificent technology and their solutions and how they're addressing the SDGs goes out to the worldwide ecosystem, so I can put a spotlight on it. And something I do keynotes every week, by the way. So I'll actually spotlight these champions in my keynotes so that the world and investors will be aware of the marvelous work that they're doing. And I also write for Forbes and IDG IT World, and where the article very much aligns with a particular solution, I'll mention these companies as well as being really the pinnacle and really a prime example of what AI for Good is and what the Innovation Factory is. So it's kind of like a bucket. And just to give you some of the ideas of other people I've interviewed and spotlighted, I just did David Beasley, the executive director of the World Food Program. Yeah, I just interviewed him. Of course, he won the World Food Program won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Wow.
I had a great chat with John Hennessy, who's the chairman of Alphabet, 16 years, president of Stanford, just did an interview with him. And I did one with Roger Penrose, who just got the Nobel Prize in Physics. In fact, I'm going to do another one in January. So you're going to be in a good crowd and you'll get attention.
Wow. That's great. So just to understand, to make sure that I got this right. So you're just saying that these 4 innovation champions would definitely gonna take part in the due diligence process for Red's Capital for hopefully possible investments. And if the majority of voting said yes from the investors, this can probably take place in Q2 2021, right? Is this the case?
Yes, absolutely. That's right.
Wow, that's very generous, Stephen. I mean, I really know how hard it is just to enter to this due diligence process of Red's Capital. So we really appreciate this, and of course, all the highlighting from I mean the magazines you're writing for, or even for these kind of interviews from IEEE and ACM kind of interviews that you do, and it's really great. Thanks very much, Stephen. But maybe one final question, because I'm sure now everyone is Googling Red's Capital and checking their investments. So what kind of startups or what kind of scale-ups you usually invest in, or what kind of, is it like technology specific, or is it technology agnostic? Is it vertical specific from Red's Capital?
You know, we invest in anything that we think is globally transformational. And your 4 champions are great examples of that. Can be used anywhere in the world, and we think very much aligns and makes the world better. So those are the kinds of investments that we invest in. I can give you an example. We just finished investing in Darwin AI. They're in the CB Insights 100, CB Insights Change Makers. They got an AI tool that can be used across all industries. For example, Lockheed Martin is now a customer, so is Honeywell. Hyundai, they just created some agri-tech, and of course their technology can also be used in the medical space. So that's a good example. You can look them up. Another one called Noveto, and so on. So we really see really great quality what's coming out into the Innovation Factory, and we definitely will support it on a continuing basis, which is just a marvelous program. And we think the richest ecosystem in the world because of all of this sort of what you've been able to encompass with AI for Good. And really that's a feeder system, and it's a qualifying system. And in fact, I had an investor write me last night about the qualifying system, and I really pointed it out. I said, it is just amazing what you've been able to accomplish. And really the world should pay attention, Ahmed, to what you're doing AI for Good and with the Innovation Factory.
Thank you very much, Stephen. This is great and very generous. We look forward to, I mean, I'll definitely gonna put them all, the 4 of them, in touch with you right away after this session. And it's just the beginning. Thanks again, Stephen. So we're moving forward with our next judge, which I'm really happy. It's always great to have one of our judges who is an AI expert. So we have Sarah Bird. Sarah Bird is a principal program manager at Microsoft, responsible AI lead and emerging technology and research strategy lead, Azure AI. Sarah, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
And thanks again for being with us actually last week as well for the other pitching session for Silicon Valley. But I think this one is different. This one is actually the top startups who scored the highest scores throughout the year. So we're very happy to have you. And one question, since we are in the AI for Good, and I'm sure a lot of people are asking this. I mean, you're responsible AI lead at Microsoft. So how do you define responsible AI? What is responsible AI?
Yeah, responsible AI, there's many different ways you could define it. It's really an umbrella term for a lot of different things that we're doing. But I think the most important thing is really aligned with what we're trying to do here with AI for Good, which is make sure that the technology we create has a positive impact in the world and has the effects that we hope it has. And we develop it in a way that also makes sure that we don't have negative impact and we don't have unintended consequences. And so at Microsoft, when we're talking about responsible AI, we have 6 principles that we think all AI systems should achieve. And so this is making sure that AI systems are fair, that they are inclusive of everybody, that they are safe and reliable, that they're private and secure. And then underlying each of these, you also want to make sure that you have the right level of transparency in the system, in the process. And then underneath that is accountability, right? We need to make sure that we are accountable for the technology we create, we understand what it can do, what it can't do, and that it does the right things in the world. And so we have a ton of different types of technology innovations and activities to help achieve this mission of making sure that AI really is for the good of the world. And so that's a huge overlap in kind of what we're trying to do for AI for Good, but just focused a lot more on making sure that we have the tools and technologies to develop AI responsibly and make sure that it works the way we want it to.
Great, thank you. And we're looking forward for your hard questions to make sure that the innovation we have today are responsible AI and have a responsible AI systems. Thanks very much, Sarah. And we'll move forward with our last and definitely not least judge, LJ Rich, BBC presenter, media expert, tech expert, AI musical producer. LJ, thank you very much for being with us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And to any programming nerds out there, I'm actually saying right now, hello world, judging by how many people are watching from all over the planet.
We're actually live stream now on our social media, so on YouTube, on Facebook, and also on Twitter. So yeah, your hello world, I'm sure it's going to be well heard. So LJ, as a media expert, presenter of BBC Click as well. You've interviewed a lot of technology experts, and also another question that we always ask at the AI for Good Summit: how do you see the media viewing AI as technology, and has this been changing for the last maybe couple of years?
Well, as you say, yes, I've met and interviewed CEOs and startups alike in my job presenting on the BBC's technology show Click. And I think AI, like a lot of technology, starts off in this kind of mythological status where everybody says the word, they've heard it, but they might not quite understand what it is. And then slowly but surely things filter down. And I think that in general, the media is sort of part of that, trying to decode it, I guess, for people. The thing I specialize in is taking complex concepts and helping people understand them kind of a bit earlier on than once it's already sort of across the mainstream. And I feel that where I get those insights from is from the artists, the makers, the creators. Any business knows to follow what its consumers are doing, and most consumers also adore content creation, following people doing interesting things. So follow the artists, and that's really been quite useful in finding out what's coming down the line in the future when it comes to technology.
Definitely, I'm sure there's a lot of creativity as well and innovation from the innovation champs you're going to see today. So again, we're looking forward for hard questions coming from your side to them, and I think we need to move forward now because of the time for the pitches. And I think my colleagues has shared the link for the voting for all the judges already for each of you, and please make sure this happened. And as I mentioned, if this was a physical summit, each one of the innovation champions right now would be having an official certificate of the ITU stamped as a great innovation champion. But we make sure that these certificates are going to be shipped to your companies for sure. And I think it's time now for the first pitch coming from our innovation champion, Gray Parrot. So Michaela, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Michaela, I remember you pitched actually in May in one of the pitching sessions. It was in mid-May, but as you can see, it's a very rigorous process. So we had to make the selection throughout the year, and well, you came one of our top 4 innovation champions. That's why we're really happy to have you here today.
Same here. Thank you so much.
So, Michaela, you have, as you know, the rules, you have 5 minutes. So my colleague is going to be timing you up in the back end when you start speaking, and it's followed by a Q&A. So also for the audience, if you want to ask any questions, please use the Q&A functionality. And also going to have some questions coming from our 4 judges for today. And that's basically the process. So good luck, and please, the virtual floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. Hi, everyone. I'm Michaela Druckmann, co-founder and CEO of Grey Parrot, and I'm absolutely delighted to be able to present today in this final. The world is in a massive waste crisis. We produce more than 2 billion tons of solid waste per year, and unfortunately, 60% of that is going to uncontrolled landfill and open dumps, and we recycle less than 14% of it. And all of this is causing major ecological and environmental impact. Thankfully, new macro trends are significantly driving change. Like, for example, the bans on international waste trade, especially driven by China, aggressive recycling targets, especially in Europe, and the commitment of many corporates and large brands to produce more circular products. And this is driving this $530 billion industry towards more transparency and automation. My team and I have built some of the most cutting-edge computer vision and AI systems before, and now we're dedicated to finding solutions and solving challenges in the waste management industry, like high levels of contamination, expensive manual sampling and sorting, and more importantly, the lack of data on waste composition, as we believe what isn't measured cannot be optimized. And this is why at Grey Parrot, we provide waste recognition software to monitor and audit waste at scale. Our mission is to digitize waste to increase transparency and automation, and we want to empower the whole ecosystem from waste managers, producers, regulators with better data analytics to help us transition to a more circular economy. We believe AI-based computer vision can solve problems along the way, from reverse vending machines and trucks that can track the waste in our system, all the way to automation and automated monitoring, knowing every single piece of waste that's flowing through our system. As a starting point, we are digitizing waste composition and specifically moving from manual samples, where currently the industry measures less than 1% of our waste on a very low regular basis, to a real-time 100% automated composition of the waste. And our first solution is an automated waste monitoring system composed of 3 elements. First of all, a monitoring unit that we place on top of fast-moving conveyor belts in waste facilities. We then use advanced AI and computer vision to provide real-time analysis on the composition from material, object, and all the way to the brand as well. And then we transition that into actionable insights to help maximize the product quality of the waste, optimize the composition of the data, and also the verification of those waste flows to ensure they are recycled at the maximum and recovered in the right way. These are a few examples of our project. This is a PET plastic line in South Korea in a facility, and our algorithms here are identifying what we call contamination. And this is helping them provide basically the most accurate way and of understanding what product they're producing and enabling the recyclability of this product. This is another example in the UK where we're tackling what we call the residue. So all of this waste is actually going to end up either in landfill or incineration. And we're ensuring that there isn't high value recyclates that are going into that streams like paper, cardboard, aluminum. And you can see here in real time, we're identifying a high peak of valuable material, which is helping the company to take action in the moment and reduce that risk. And similarly here in Italy, we're detecting the composition of PET on PET lines, again, which is driving higher levels of recycling and the value of the waste. So we're tackling this solution in different ways at different points in the facility. And all of this is basically helping them, one, to have higher financial returns because they can recover more of those valuable waste streams, but also it means that less of it is leaking into nature and we're increasing recycling rates. Our differentiation is that we're very focused on building, on using the latest AI and computer vision systems, and also decoupling the hardware and the software to be able to provide data with low capital outlay in different areas of the waste stream. In just 18 months of starting, we've had multiple commercial pilots in UK, Japan, South Korea, Italy. We've raised more than $3.5 million in a seed round led by leading European VCs like Speed Invest, and also received government grants. We're also supported by leading accelerators and universities. And last but not least, we have an amazing team of experts in AI, deep learning, building infrastructure, and also entrepreneurs that have built successful businesses before. We're fully dedicated to using our expertise to solving big problems like the problem of waste. And we're committed to extracting the financial value of waste, which in turn will also keep our planet clean. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michaela. Very clear. I'm looking out to the judges. If anyone have any questions, please just enable your video so that I can see you. Stephen, please go ahead.
Actually, this was a earlier discussion earlier this year. I just love the tech. I think it's quite marvelous. We really would need to get a better handle. What's your revenue sort of forecast? You got some proof of concept, proof of business there. What's your revenue forecast for 2021? And when are you at the break-even point?
Yeah, so we started already generating revenue this year with our first commercial pilots. For next year, we're going to reach multiple six-figure revenue, and break-even point is essentially, I mean, depends how we look at it, but that will be in a couple of years. So we're really still in the development phase of the technology, and we believe with the scale, we will probably get that within the next 3 years. Sorry, being also confidential on our numbers too.
Yeah, we understand. Stephen, if you don't have a follow-up question, maybe it's, or you have a follow-up question, or that's okay for now.
And happy to share more on a more private forum as well.
Yeah, we'll reach in and get into your data vault.
Perfect.
Exactly. Thanks, Stephen. So LJ, please go ahead.
Hi, how does the machine handle compound objects like bottles of one type of plastic and a cap of a different type when they're connected?
Yes. So the way we do that is that we infer, so we look at the full object. So we're really replicating human vision into our algorithms. So for example, most drinking bottles will be a type of plastic or a type of layering. So we'll basically infer that from understanding the full object. So this is why the brand recognition layer is also very important for us.
Thank you.
Sarah, and then Joseph.
This looks great. How do you label your training data? Where are you getting the information to train your models?
So the information, we're getting that from the industry because they're already basically separating waste in manual samples. And that gives us essentially the categorization that we're looking for. And we then label that partially in-house and partially externally.
Great, thank you.
Nice job, Michaela.
Thank you.
Question for you: Who is your target customer? And give me a perspective on private versus government, and also what is your focus relative to, let's say, U.S., North America versus rest of the world?
Yeah. So our primary customer are private companies that are waste managers, and specifically companies that do sorting and separation. So what we call material recovery facilities. So this is part of the waste management sector. So they're all private companies, and their main goal is essentially to separate the waste the most effectively possible and then sell those secondary materials in the market. So we're really helping them with that sort of financial gain. In terms of geographical focus, we very much started in Europe. So key countries here like UK, France, Italy, etc. And we're also getting traction into certain areas of Asia like Japan and South Korea. These are all areas where there is an existing infrastructure, because areas where developing economies where there is no infrastructure, it's a very different setup. We haven't yet entered the US market, but that's something that we're looking at as well, as they have a very similar setup there too. Although local authorities are more involved, as I understand there.
Great, thank you.
How are you developing your sales strategies then? Like, are you working with partners, or do you have a sales force, or how's that sort of go-to-market strategy building out so far? For example, you want to get into the US. What's your strategy to do that?
Yeah. So for now, we've had our kind of sales team and outbound team very much internally, with collaborations through different accelerators we're part of that are very specific around plastics, like the Alliance to End Plastic Waste, around recycling, etc., and also working with key advisors in the industry. As we scale, we see channel partners also coming into play. For example, large engineering companies that work with those waste management companies, or also some of the machinery companies that also work with them as channel partners. The US, we haven't looked at a specific go-to-market there. But what we know is that the landscape, as mentioned, is slightly different in terms of the setup between private and public sector, and local authorities being involved differently. So generally speaking, if we do enter that market, we would invest significantly to have a team on site that fully understands that ecosystem.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Michaela. So I think I'm going to just pick one question from the audience, and
Sure.
I'm going to ask you one question from our side. So from the audience, I find a question in the Q&A saying, does favorable regulatory policies govern your startup scope to scale? Example, the global south countries that may not have an existing sorting facilities. Would that be a problem for you?
Yes, so the current infrastructure and policy has quite a big impact in what we do. Because the more they're requiring, for example, high levels of purity, or taxing, for example, landfills more significantly, like in Europe, that obviously creates different incentives for us. So we're quite guided by that. For specifically developing economies, the fact that there's no infrastructure is a problem, in the sense that we can't directly replicate the product that we have there. However, we believe that in the next few years, those countries will also start developing their infrastructure and probably leapfrog to much more advanced ways of looking at waste. So we're close to that. We're keeping an eye on that, but we believe that's probably areas we will enter slightly later.
Okay, I said one question from the audience, but I found like more than 5-6 questions coming right now. So I'll pick another one quickly. So one is saying, recognition accuracy, error measurements, question mark. So probably he's asking about how accurate is the recognition ability of your solution.
Yeah, so these vary by material types, but ultimately, our goal is to be in the 95+% range on all of them. So this is where we are with certain of them, certain where we're lower, but that's the benchmarks that we're looking to hit.
Okay, another one is saying, understood on the plastic paper, how can food be tackled?
So food waste.
Yes, probably. This is the question, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a large question. So we're not tackling specifically food waste. However, we are tackling, for example, contamination of food on recyclables, because that's a huge problem. Because as you may know, if you have, for example, a greasy pizza box or a bottle that's full of fizzy drink, that obviously is not recyclable. So we see it more as contamination in the context of recycling, but food waste analysis, we haven't gone into that specifically on the sort of more compostable side.
Okay, so I think there's more questions coming. So maybe you would take it offline.
No,
You can answer them in the Q&A, in the chat and the Q&A, yeah. And maybe one question from our side, and I'll ask this question to all the 4 innovation champions. If there's one thing that we can do somehow to help you scale, what would it be? Like, what's the one thing that really would help you the most? Is it funding? Is it standardization? Is it like, what's the one thing that you think that is, what would it
I
be?
think, I mean, the best startups succeed because they have the best talent and the best teams. So I think helping us find talent that is interested in, doing good and also have deep expertise in AI for us is very important. So any help on that front would be very welcome.
Awesome. Understood. And I'm looking now to our judges so that I'm sure they can help, not just in advising, but in providing good recommendations for people who can actually help you scale through talent. Thank you very much, Michaela. And
Thank you so much.
It's our pleasure to have you. And I think now I'm calling for Karim from Hawadawa from Germany. Karim, great to see you again. You did a great pitch last time and great company, scaling very, very well, exponentially, I would say. So how are you?
Yeah, I'm actually quite good. Thanks for the invitation. Quite exciting. Also listening to one pitch so far, but reading also about the other startups. I'm quite impressed. And also, very thankful for the stage you're offering here. I'm quite curious to see sort of what happens after. Let's see.
No, this is just the beginning. I mean, I know we took some time. It's a bit of a long process. We had to stay for the whole year to make the selection and to see all the scores. But I mean, coming as one of the top is exactly what we're looking for. That's what we're going to be focusing on, startups like you. So Karim, as you know, we have 5 minutes. Please take it away, and we're going to see you again in the Q&A.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we take 7 breaths every single year, 7 million breaths every single year. So it's hard to fathom that 1 in 8 global breaths is attributed to the air we breathe. And air pollution doesn't only affect our health, but it also affects our climate and our economy. The EU loses 10% of its annual GDP through air pollution and its costs. And air pollutants, such as tropospheric ozone or black carbon, are also climate pollutants, adding to the climate crisis. So trying to solve these problems might seem like a dauntingly, frustratingly, just a big task. And one of the reasons why it is that way, and this is what we argue, is because actually it's a data problem in how we perceive air quality data. When it comes to air quality, we think in binaries, or we tend to think in binaries. The air quality is either good or bad. We need to ban all cars or start, leave the cars as is. And if your city has a nitrogen concentration of 40.1 microgram per year, then it's has a big problem. 39.9, yeah, you're still okay. And this sort of mentality in the era of data is unacceptable. What it needs is a solution that really uses data and finds the gray area in between and deciphers the complexity of the topic of air quality. And this is exactly what we do. We combine cutting-edge space technology with our own and proprietary IoT sensor networks with other sensor networks as well, to provide in-depth analytics, automated data across the globe on a comprehensive layer. And because it's about bringing air quality data into the mainstream of decision-making, we've partnered with some of the leading institutions, from mobility to healthcare to infrastructure and digital infrastructure to research, to actually help us validate and put value on the data. So just to give you an example of our customer story, this is the city of Mainz without Hawadawa. And this is how it looks like after we enter the city. It's a comprehensive data coverage using traffic data, weather data, existing measuring stations, diffusion tubes, as well as our own sensor networks, and space and satellite data in order to fill the gaps in between. So really comprehensive coverage with historic, real-time, and forecasted data. And this helps us to understand the question, how did the lockdown really influence air quality? How did the traffic interplay? Where is the air pollution coming from that are measuring? So actually identifying the hotspots and not just measuring air quality, and knowing where to tackle, where are the quick wins, and also understanding the correlation between traffic, air quality, and climate. So getting the highest value of every year for every year you invest in air quality or air pollution abatement measures. And with the same platform, we actually can help you understand the public risk. So it's really monitoring the exposure every single person in a city, from 100 times 100 meters up to saying on every school and every building and in every points of interest and every aerial code, what is air pollution exposure exactly? And also saying that across the European, or actually across the globe, for every hour, narrowing it down so you know exactly when and where you need to tackle it. And going upwards even further to check where are the emissions coming from and why are they happening the way they are. So really just going down all these across the different segments. We are quite interdisciplinary team, so we have epidemiologists, traffic engineers, people who I worked for myself for the United Nations Environment Program before. We have data scientists as well as hardware engineers. Coming from 11 different countries, speaking more than I think 12 different languages, so quite interdisciplinary. We've been named the Digital Startup of the Year this year in Germany. We've been working with more than 20 cities, or more than 25 cities in 4 countries at the moment, and really tackling this data challenge on the global scale. So you might be asking yourself, what is a vision? So vision is to internalize equality data and data-driven insights into the mainstream of decision-making, from how we manage our traffic, manage our health, to how we even score our real estate and plan our cities. So actually go from the right side of things, from the SDGs that are really relevant for the equalities, saying, for example, the climate action, good health and well-being, and then check the data mix on the left. What technologies offer the best value for the problem that we're trying to tackle, and create the products basically that commoditize equality data. So in the future, we see, or actually today, we see cars, light poles, advertising boards, satellites streaming billions of data points into the Hawadawa software, and we using this to tackle several markets at the moment. And this is basically something you would think it's intuitive. It should have happened. I mean, the air quality we breathe, and this is exactly sort of the vision that we're following and trying to pursue this in a mainstream way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very interesting and very to the point. Questions? Joseph, please go ahead.
Yep. Kareem, nice job. A couple of questions for you. Talk to us about how, I assume you're for-profit, I would imagine. Yeah. So if that's the case, talk to us about how do you plan on making revenue? What is your model? And with that, targeted customers would be helpful. And I'd like to also, with that, I apologize for the multi-pronged question, but also talk a little bit more about the climate, I think it was a climate something standardization, climate policy standardization. So, right, so, target customers, go to market, and that policy.
So actually the first 2 years we were break even, and then we started funding. So we actually create revenue, of which 70% is recurring. So the way we do it is the data, number one, and then the analytics are a subscription-based business. So instead of a very CapEx heavy monitoring service, we're digitizing this. So a lot of the traditional methods that monitor air quality, as you buy a big chunk of hardware and that's it, and you get the data. We're turning it into a service, and then we have a secondary market into it. And as we're a for-profit company, you might be asking, well, it's air quality data. Isn't it something like a public good? Well, the same thing is for weather data. Weather data, you also get your weather forecast. It doesn't mean that there is not a billion market behind it. And that's the same thing with the air quality data. There is a certain layer of data that is actually more than enough for individuals. And if you try to really tackle it on the high level, this is sort of what's the in-depth analytics of it is basically what we offer as an added value. And we're already, like I said, we're for-profit, and the cities that I mentioned, and utilities, as well as companies that enhance their products with our data, pay a subscription basis on an annual fee, depending on which software dashboard they use or which API they tap into. So it's either dashboards or APIs. It's a software as a service, basically, through dashboards or APIs. And the second question was the standardization.
Customers. Do you give me a sense of customers, private versus government?
So 50% of our clients are governmental clients, from national governments to municipalities and cities. And this context also includes utilities, so companies that work closely with cities, energy providers, infrastructure providers. The other 50%, we're focusing right now on the eco-sensitive traffic management, or advanced intelligent traffic system, basically. So working with traffic management companies that use our data layers to enhance the software, their predictions, to provide a more eco-friendly traffic management system that guarantees mobility, but still is able to have the eye on the environment.
Okay, and then I'm sorry, lastly, around the standardization policy, I was just curious, I mean, how do you go about influencing that and actually motivating, I would imagine, municipalities to kind of support that? How do you go about doing that?
This is a general challenge. You will find a lot of the startups developing technology that's far above or far more advanced than what the policies or laws are making. So actually we are in several of the forums that develop that, but because our product is relatively comprehensive, like I said, satellite data, cars and IoT sensors, there's still some layers in there that still need standardization. So to go actually to the question from the previous pitch, we're talking with the different, the TÜVs, the DINs, the companies in Germany or Europe at least that provide standardization and providing our own standards and some like best practices that we've established. Because sensor networks that use AI are still quite new, so we still use the old standards, but we are trying to push forward through the best practices. Yeah.
Great. Nice job. Thank you.
So are you working then with ITU, for example, some of their focus groups like the AI environmental efficiency or some of the other ones? And in other words, to get more proliferation of what the work you're doing and working with other stakeholders?
So thanks to the last time pitch, yeah, we were familiarized with these kind of groups, and so far we're more of an observer and looking at what's already has been done. But we're familiar with the groups, and yes, this would be the next stage for us.
And are you now profitable or break even, or when's your break even point?
Break even would be planned the end of next year or Q1 2022, Q1, Q2 latest, depending on how next year is going to be. The thing that right now, but yeah.
So are you getting month by month growth then in terms of your revenue right now?
Yeah. So we have, I think I have to check the growth this year compared to last year is about 80 to 90%, but I have to check again. But yeah, we have continuous growth, and this is also why we're fundraising. So we finalized the first closing. There is a second closing still open. So for the investors in the room, feel free to approach us. And also sort of building consortium in 2 larger cities in the emerging world. So Hawadawa means air medicine in more than 7 languages, because we also want to bring this to more than 100 countries that don't own a single air quality monitor. So this is a chance for emerging countries to leapfrog a whole development stage when it comes to managing air quality. So this would be the next big step for us next year.
And then you work with partners initially, right? You've got an ecosystem of outlets or partners that you work with right now.
Yeah. So we don't develop the end product for the asthma management, for the traffic management. We're not going to be the ones turning the red light to green light, but we're working with partners that can use the end stage of our API, of our software products, to enhance their own products. Like real estate, for example, also have partners there to score the location. If you have an asthmatic child, this is a particularly healthy location, like this kind of products that we can bring. Right now, we're focusing on the traffic management and just digitizing the air quality monitoring market from a CAPEX model to a more service-oriented model.
Great, thank you.
Go ahead, Sarah, please. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little more about the tech behind this, and kind of how key is it to the story? Are you using pretty mature, for example, machine learning, or are you kind of more on the edge here?
So it started as a wearable device for asthmatics. And we noticed that the data quality needs some work on the hardware front. So we developed a broader hardware device that still uses machine learning to reach the accuracy that is required legally, at least in Europe. So this is what we achieved. So this is sort of the first element where we use machine learning models. The second, where it gets more than into depth, is the merging of different technology sources, from satellites to sensors to cars to different data sources, to harmonize them. And basically to make spatial and temporal predictions. This is where we use a second layer of technology. I cannot disclose too much of it, of course, but sort of this is where we use machine learning as well. This is sort of the main giver of what we're doing.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Karim. So I think we have a lot of questions in the Q&A, but I'll try to go very quickly on maybe picking a few of them. So I can see one from Adela Villanova. She's asking, how many data points do you need to be accurate?
So this is sort of what's our philosophy. We go from the right side of the picture I showed, which what is the pain you're trying to relieve, and then we see what's the optimal to approach all points. In every city, we have a sort of a formula to say how many devices we need for the optimal coverage. But there are, for example, the real estate case is enough to have static data. You don't have to have real-time data. So I think the philosophy behind how what's very special about it is that we have concrete pains that we started from. So my brother was an asthmatic. I know a couple of people from the healthcare side to know that there is a gap here for management of health. And then we work backwards and see which technology mix, and we have a very comprehensive technology mix addresses this pain point. So it's hard to answer this question right away in terms of numbers.
Okay, because this technology mix is super complicated, and yeah, okay. Another one is coming from Mariano Gonzalez. He's asked how Adawa can make predictions of contamination.
So we make predictions on air quality, yes, if that's the question. And the idea is then the predictions to involve both weather phenomena as well as traffic. So basically to do predictions to know, for example, like we did that in a couple of cities in Germany last year, 2019, and found out that the highest peaks were actually an inversion layer phenomenon, the actual traffic, although traffic was, there was an increase. So sort of this kind of understanding between the different interplay of climate, health, air quality, and traffic.
Okay, great. I know actually some people are watching us right now from Space for SDGs and from initiative like this. Also, there's a question asking if you're a member or a partner of Smart City Initiatives or consortium in the EU. I'm not sure if you are.
So we participate in two Horizon 2020 projects in Munich, where the cities of Munich, Barcelona, I think it's called Smarter Together is one of them, and the other one is Eccentric Civita. So these are two Horizon 2020 consortium we are supporting with. But yeah, sort of, yeah, I think that answers the question.
Okay, so I'll put you in touch with these people who are actually having a lot to offer. And I think Stephen Ibaraki's question about the focus group of the ITU is more of a question to us. So we'll work on it for sure and make sure that you're included in these kind of focus groups. Thanks, Karim, again. And no, sorry, the one last question. What would be the one thing that you would need to really scale? What's the one thing? If there's one thing that can really help you, what would it be?
I think the biggest momentum you get with people who are in the decision-making level, who buy into this vision that the world of tomorrow will be a world where all the analog infrastructure that you have outside is digitized, and you have data from bottom-up sensors from satellites, and they control and manage and govern and administrate emissions and pollution, this kind of thing. So the more people on the policy level, on the investment level, on the industry level buy into this vision, the more, of course, it helps us to make it a reality. So I would say if it's the one thing, I would say the policy is always the slower part. So I would say the industry or the investment side.
Okay, and to push this vision and raise awareness about it more and more into this kind of policymakers domains, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Karim. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ahmed.
And we're moving forward again with our next pitch. So it's from Spain, City Beats. So Ivan, great to have you again.
Hi, Ahmed. It's my pleasure. I'm super excited to be here.
We're excited to have you, as you know the process. So where are you connected from? Which city?
I'm in Barcelona.
You're in Barcelona, okay. And things are okay there?
Yeah, hopefully we will be going out of the lockdown next week.
Okay, we hope so. Yeah, okay, so please go ahead, you know the rules. You have 5 minutes and then followed by Q&A. Best of luck.
Perfect, thank you very much. Let me start with a question. How much time does society need to respond to a social problem? I'm Ivan Caballero, CEO and founder of CityBits, and today I will answer this question starting with a story. April 14th, in the middle of the pandemic, New York Times reports in breaking news that there are hunger problems in 2 neighborhoods of Colombia and Venezuela. There was needed 14 days since initial signs from the New York Times to report it, and the reaction of some organizations came after a big noise in social networks, more than 1 month later. As an effect of the noise in social networks, people with resources went into the supermarkets and emptied them, creating a sensation of panic and huge problems on food supply, mainly for the poorest. This late reaction is costing lives and trillions to society. The good news of the story is that our customer, Inter-American Development Bank, was noticed by CityBits few hours after the problem was reported. When New York Times reported it, BIT already was working on the problem, saving money and lives. CityBits helped BIT to predict the present, and we help them detecting this relevant social risk just using public and structured data. Introducing CityBits, the leading augmented text analytics platform, providing insights in real time about social risks. We process text big data through natural language processing and machine learning to provide actionable insights so our customers and partners can react faster and more efficiently to people's needs. On the left, our backend, where you can upload any text data set in any language, create custom categories in minutes, and train your model with a few words so it can learn automatically and get results in minutes. On the right, an example on how our algorithms enrich unstructured data and generate insightful visualizations. Our technology detects social trends faster than media, increase the coverage of surveys at a fraction of the cost, and get early warnings on critical issues. Feedback from people is provided in multiple formats and languages. So we have developed a technology capable to deal with that. We are connected to more than 100,000 data sources, processing millions of feedbacks per day. We also process proprietary data from our partners and customers. And did you know that there are more than 150 papers per week in the NLP and machine learning domains? Yeah, the state of the art is so vast. That's why we only focus in algorithms that learn across projects and provide reliable leading indicators for the society. First, an AI capable to structure multilingual data in minutes without previous training. Second, did you know that 70% of the public data in Latin America is written by men? Can you imagine which type of decisions have been made without knowing? We specialized in data representativity, bias reduction, and noise reduction. Our technology detects gender, age, and race bias in real time. And third, sentiment analysis is not enough actionable. So we have developed proprietary algorithms to detect intents like criticism or propositions, feedback, and social indexes like trust or dignity. And how all this technology translates into impact? Okay, in only 2 years, so beginning 2018, we have developed more than 50 projects worldwide, from Japan to Latin America and in different fields. Japan Ministry of Consumer Affairs is increasing per 5 the number of detected cases and reducing the time of detection in 50%. Spain government is detecting per 250 cases about infrastructure and accessibility problems. Dublin City is collecting per 250 times voices 90 days earlier to define their budgets and new policies. And Latin American region has now a public platform collecting all the internet data from 26 countries, structuring, anonymizing, and offering it in open data. So any student, startup, company, or government can use it to identify problems around COVID and find solutions. So reacting late is costing lives and trillions, and real-time available data requires real-time information analysis. So our ambition is to becoming the global standard for social risk measurement to help building a more inclusive, fair, and responsive society. And this award will help us so much in this challenge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was cool, Ivan. Any questions from the judges? We have Sarah. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I would really like to hear more about your bias reduction and how it works.
Yeah, even our technology?
Yeah, exactly. What are you doing? Do you have labels of people and their particular demographics? Are you reweighting? How do you handle that?
Yeah, okay. So we are using semi-supervised machine learning. Through our backend, any user without a lot of technical knowledge can introduce any type of category and then train the system with a little few words, like we call it seeds. And based on this, the system starts creating different graphs. And let's say we call it semantic environments based on the topics and based on the data sources that we are providing. And from there, we can extract the insights through unsupervised machine learning algorithms.
So for the problem you said where most of the people who are out talking are men, for example, how does your system address that?
Yeah. Okay. If it's okay for you, we can have a conversation a little bit later. But yeah, we are using using different types of deduction. So, for example, names or how they speak, and based on this, we are in the state of the art of deducting gender and also age and also race.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. I think LG has a question. LG, please go ahead.
Hi, yes, I do. How do you include insights from people who don't use social media? How do you work around that bias towards people who are technologically unequal?
Yeah, very good question. In some projects, like for example, we are working with some customers around migration issues. On one hand, we create our data sources. On the other hand, we can use even phone call transcriptions or transcription from written notes. So somehow we create our own data sources to make the model representative.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Stephen, please go ahead.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. I almost see you as sort of a combination of something called Event Registry, which is a really cool app, and another one called Fake or Fact from Berkeley. I can see you combining those two. So sort of a compound question: how do you differentiate against who you consider to be other competitors too? What's your sort of go-to-market strategy, client acquisition strategy? And then where are you from a revenue standpoint? And are you break even at this point? Are you making a profit?
Okay. Yeah. How are we differentiating? So we are trying to position ourselves as a domain expert in social risk understanding. That means that all the technology that we are developing is based on that concept. And we are also generating transfer knowledge amongst projects. Okay. So I would say this is generating some defensibility over time. Second, you ask about customers, right? And go-to-market strategy. Yeah, so this year we've been selling direct. 80% of our sales come from direct. Just to have a size, we will be closing the year with 1.7 million euro in revenue. 80% direct, 20% with partners. We love the concept of going with partners, but the truth is that we are not finding the way to be relevant there. So our strategy is just building joint solutions with companies like Accenture, like Telefonica, like Everest. So they put value on top of our technology, so we can go together to the market.
I see. And you're not quite break even yet, though, right?
No, we are not break even. We expect to be break even beginning 2013. And yeah.
And earlier in your pitch, you mentioned that you were working with Facebook and some of the other big vendors. Are you working with people like Microsoft, Google, and Facebook? And how is that maturing?
Yeah. With Facebook is our customer. We are working also with United Nations. We are also working with Inter-American Development Bank and some other big players. And I would say we are pretty mature and we are exploring new business models with them.
Okay, great. Loved your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your questions.
Real quick
Joseph,
question
one question, please. Yeah.
Ivan, just give me a sense of, by the way, nice job in terms of the overall platform, your approach. I like the use of the blockchain. It's nice to see it getting traction. Do you have much, give me a sense in terms of competition. Give me a sense of who else is out there. You think relative to your approach, are you sort of leading the trend relative to how this should be approached on a go-forward perspective?
Yeah. Okay. So how we see the market? We see legacy platforms and generalists. Okay, here, and then we see domain experts and visionary platforms. So we would like to be positioned here as a visionary technology with a domain expertise on the social risk understanding. And I would say generalist, I could mention SAP, I could mention, all these big companies, SAS, even Salesforce. And here we find companies like, for example, we like a lot Data Miner, who probably are here listening to us. We love what they are doing. And I think that's the model that we are following. With one difference, Data Miner is working with the Defense Department of the United States, or FBI, and we would like to go on the bright side of that.
Thank you, Ivan. And I think we have a lot of questions, but we don't have time for all of that. But let me pick one or two of them from the audience. So I think there's one question asking about there was one asking about if you're compliant to GDPR, like privacy or security compliance. Do you have this?
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, so the first version of the platform was developed with funding and H 2020 from the European Commission. And as you probably all know, all the ethical standards are very strict. So yeah, we are GDPR compliant, and we are in the final stage of becoming INS compliant also, which is the security standard from the Spanish region, which I would say is one of the more restrictive ones worldwide.
Okay, and another quick question is, does CityBeat has success stories during COVID crisis in Latin America? So it's a good question given the time of pandemic.
Yeah, we have a lot of beautiful stories around this. And I encourage you to Google Civic-Lytics, which is the name of the platform that we have launched with CityBeats and Inter-American Development Bank. And we have launched a report about the first 120 days of pandemic and the insights that we are helping collecting, which there are many of those stories.
Awesome. Feel free to share this link actually on the chat for everyone. And there are more questions, so please, if you can, after your pitch, just to answer these questions would be very cool. And I'll ask you the same question as I asked to everyone before we go to the next pitch and our last pitch, is what's the one thing that we can do to help you scale? Like, is it, what's the one thing that can help you the most?
Yeah. Okay. I would say, if you allow me, I will say two.
Okay.
So yeah, you know, we are trying to build a standard, an ethical standard on social risk understanding. So visibility is key for us right now, and that we are getting it. So thank you very much. We are very excited and very humbled. And second is, we are in the middle of a funding round. So funding also will be very welcome.
So funding and standards. Okay, good. Thanks, Ivan. Thank you very much. And we'll move forward for our last and definitely not least pitch from Germany. We have Child Growth Monitor, Marcus. Thanks for being with us today.
Hi, Ahmed.
Good to see you again. I just have to say to everyone that we might be a little bit late, a few minutes late than the expected time, but that's okay. It's super interesting content and discussion. So Marcus, please, you know the process, 5 minutes pitch, and then we have the Q&A. So please, if you can get your slides ready.
Sure.
Yeah, and make sure it works well with a proper slideshow. And here you go. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thanks for having me. I'm Marcus from Child Growth Monitor, and we're developing an app to detect and measure malnourished children. We will do that with image data and AI instead of physical tools. And obviously, as you can see on the picture, our target groups are children in developing countries. In order to understand the beauty and the massive impact of our app, you need to understand the problem. Yeah, and I'll explain this two ways. And I'll start with a quiz. So everybody have a look at the picture and think, do you think that this child is malnourished? Unfortunately, we don't have time to write it in the chat, yeah, but take a couple of seconds and think about it, and I'll give you the answer. The answer is you cannot tell if a child is malnourished just by looking at it. At least for the majority of the children, you cannot. No? For the edge cases, you can. What you need to do, in order to know for sure, you need to measure it. And you can see here 3 of the 5 KPIs that you need. You need the arm circumference, you need the length or the height of the child, and you need the weight of the child. And on top of it, you need sex and the age. Yeah. Unfortunately, the traditional measurements, as you see here, they are very unreliable due to a number of factors. The first one is that the hardware is not very reliable. It's also bulky and expensive. The data are easy to manipulate. It's work intense, especially measuring the height of the child. And all of this, or the traditional measurements, they need physical contact. And this leads to the fact that roughly only 1/3 of the children get measured correctly. Now there's a second layer to it, which is COVID-19. In developing countries, the health crisis will be followed by a food security crisis due to supply chains that are broken. And the NGO World Vision has calculated that 30 million children's lives are at risk due to COVID-19. So how can we help? We can be part of the ecosystem of a solution. And this is how Child Growth Monitor works. You take a smartphone with our app on it, and then you collect the data through the video and the camera function. The app calculates a data model, and then the machine learning or deep learning kicks in, and our app will give out a diagnosis. The advantages of our solution is that the measurement will be better quality. Manipulation is not possible. And the beauty is that everybody with a smartphone in our app will become an expert. And all of a sudden, there's no lack of experts in the world anymore. And the potential for scaling is massive. Our way forward is that we will release a first version of the product end of this year, beginning of next year. We're already in the field, but only for data collection, not giving out a diagnosis. Then we will certify our app as a medical tool, and we will start an open source nonprofit social business. A couple of remarks on privacy and data protection. Obviously, this is of highest priority for us. What's important is that the data do not belong to us. They belong to the children and the parents, but they give us consent. We have written consent forms from every parent for the data usage. And we will open, we want to start or will start an open source nonprofit social business. Here are some of our partners that we need right now, but this especially that we will need also for leverage the impact that our solution has. We have some very good partners: WFP, UNICEF, German federal government, GIZ, GSMA, BCG, and so on. So if you, with your vote, want to make a difference, if you want to get rid of hunger, and if you also want to help the most vulnerable, then please vote for Child Growth Monitor. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcus. Very clear and to the point as well. Any questions from our judges? Stephen, please go ahead, followed by LJ.
What's your accuracy point to this? I know in your earlier pitches, you're around 40 to 60%, or has that increased substantially because of the new data coming in and the data sets and so on?
Yes, but not so much on new data, but rather new people. There's some new team members coming in. Yes, we're increasing. We do Scrum sprints. We get better with every Scrum sprint. But going back to what Michaela said in her first pitch, it's the same with us. For certain for certain children, it works very well, and for others, it not so much. Especially for standing children, it works very, very well. But for lying children, not so much yet, and we're working on this, obviously.
Okay, thank you.
That was actually my question.
Thanks, LJ. Any other questions from Joseph or from Sarah? Yeah, Joseph, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Marcus, nice job. Really appreciate your passion, your commitment to this. I was curious as to what drove you to do this. It's definitely a needed, something very needed to do, literally across the world. And so one is what's driving you to do it, and then two, Are there certain geographic areas around the world that you're particularly targeting from a concentration perspective? Yeah.
So the idea was born at an innovation camp, and I'm not the inventor of this. Like the brainchild behind this is my partner, Markus Matiaszek, who's probably listening. And Weltunge, the NGO that we're a project of at the moment, they started an innovation camp and brought together coders or tech experts with people in the field. And immediately, after this idea was born, immediately everybody said, "That's brilliant. Let's try to get it done." So that's the first part of the question. The second part is, at the moment we're active in India. We will start a first pilot in Africa very soon, probably this year. And our target countries in the long run are 50 developing countries, mostly in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia.
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, just real quick follow-up.
Sure, Joseph, please go ahead.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I was just curious. So, so let's say you get involved in a needed part of the world. What are you looking at to see if you're actually making an impact? I mean, this is one of these, right? This is one of these dilemmas, right? That the world faces, where you've got this continuing hunger, right? In certain elements of the world, particularly it's impacting children, they're dying. How do you know when you're making an impact, right?
So let's for example take COVID-19. During the pandemic, in most developing countries, children were not measured. The measurements were stopped because of social distancing. If a child is not measured, then it will never be diagnosed. Then it will not get the treatment. Usually, or in India at least, it's the case that once a child is diagnosed as malnourished, it will be treated by the state, depending on which level of, so moderately malnourished or severely malnourished, it will get different treatment. So what you do not measure, you cannot manage. And this is where we come in. Obviously, we cannot hand out the food. We need to rely on partners who do that. But at the moment, the partners are not doing it if children are not identified as malnourished. And this is where the big problem is. And this is the problem that we will solve.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, Sarah, please, if you have one last question,
Do you do the actual inferencing on the phone, or do you need to send data to a cloud or somewhere?
Very good question. At the moment, we still need to send it through the internet, because we're still not totally finished yet. Later on, the majority of the cases that we measure with our app will be done on the phone. There will be edge cases though. Let's imagine we're in a country where there are mines, landmines, and there's children with missing legs or arms. Then the algorithm will say, well, I don't know this. And in this case, you need an internet connection. But the majority of the cases will not. Also, what's important to mention is that we have an offline first approach. So that means that our app will work without internet connection. At some point, for example, if you have those edge cases, you will need an internet or Wi-Fi connection.
So then for privacy, do you store images through time, or is it just you get the inference and then the images go away? How do you think about that?
At the moment we store it, we anonymize data as quickly as we can. We also do face blurring on the device itself. But later on, we do not for the edge cases. For the edge cases, we might, but for the majority of the cases, we don't even have to store any personal information or image data.
Great, thank you.
Thanks very much. And due to the time, again, there's some questions, but I'll pick one question maybe, and then ask you the same exact question that I ask all the startups. So maybe one question from the audience coming from Mariana. She's asking, does the basic system take into account differences between children of the same age from different continents? For example, differences in head circumferences?
Yes, we do. But we have to start somewhere. We started in the country with the highest cases of malnourished children, which is India. I already also mentioned that we do a project in Africa where whichever region or country we go to, we will test, obviously, if our algorithms work. And if they do, then we can roll it out.
Okay, great. So while I ask you the question of what's the one thing that we can do to support, I would like to ask all the judges to make sure that they now go to the link and vote for their top startup. Only the judges. So the link has been shared with the judges. We're going to live voting in a minute, but for now, please, the 4 judges, make sure that you vote your top startup out of the 4 with 1 click, as we discussed through this Pigeonhole link. Marcus, what's the one thing that you think is mostly needed for you to scale that we or anyone can provide?
Yeah, until a couple of weeks or months ago, I would have said developers or data scientists. But by now, we have a very good team together. We can pull it off with this team. So my first question would be time, but which is kind of a cheating question. The second answer, my second answer is, if anyone has contacts to a regulatory body like the FDA, yeah, this would help us a lot. Anything that's got to do with medical certification.
Okay, so regulatory and medical certification is something that you're looking forward for.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the ITU, we have the focus group, AI and health focus group, that mainly works on benchmarking similar topics like this. I mean, there's a lot of details. You can check it. Actually, the focus group AI and health was one of the outcomes of a previous AI for Good summit. So yeah, thank you very much, Marcus. This has been great, and I think now it's for the exciting time of the live voting of the audience. So I would like to ask my my colleague Gino to share the slide of the QR code and the link to the Pigeonhole link. Also, my colleague is going to share the link on the chat as well, so that you, everyone, even people who are watching us on social media, on Facebook, on YouTube, can use their phone for this QR link to, with 1 click, choose their best or most favorite startup out of our 4 innovation champions. And also you can use this link. As you can see, it's pigeonhole.at/innovation champion. Also, it's been shared right now, I can see on the chat. So I'll give it like maybe 30 seconds for everyone to vote. And also the votes I can see is also coming at the back end. My colleagues are telling me from various people from different social media platforms. Let me wait a little bit and see the votes coming. And again, just to explain it again, we have 4 experts. Each will have 1 vote, and then we're going to have a 5th vote, which is the collective opinion or vote of the audience. So in other words, this live voting from audience would represent 20% of the winner. So so please, so I think I'm checking now with my colleagues if the voting is going well or if there's something. Okay, so I think the voting now, the link works and we're getting the votes. So please try again. Yes, you can try again now. Yes, it's working now, exactly. Yeah, the link has been shared on the chat, and maybe it's a good time to remind everyone that in addition to what generously Joseph Hopkins and Stephen Buraki would be providing and supporting and helping these startups to scale. Also, the ITU is very happy. I mean, we're happy to have you here and recognize you as the innovation champion of the Innovation Factory 2020. We're also going to feature you in the AI for Good Perspectives, interviewed by a professional journalist, and also we'll be sending you an official AI for Good Innovation Factory Innovation Champion certificate to your companies. And hopefully we're going to include you much more in various tracks within the ITU, as we mentioned, for these kind of focus groups that works in the exact same verticals that you're working on. So I think it's time now to make the countdown for the audience voting. So let's say we're having now the last 10 seconds, and then we're going to stop the voting. Also, my colleagues got the votes from the judges. So I think it would be pretty exciting to show the live audience voting on the screen right now. So, but please make sure this is not the winner. This is not the final winner announcement. This is just the live audience voting, which represent 20% of the result. The votes we're going to get from the judges will be added to this one. So please, if I ask my colleagues now to show the audience voting results in this screen. Something is coming up, and looks like the voting results from the audience gets 61% City Beats and 18.2% Child Growth Monitor, 16% Grey Parrot, and 4.8% Hawadawa. This is only 20% of the final result. And I think now it's time to add this as one vote in addition to the other 4 votes we're going to get from the judges of today. But before I do this, I'm really happy to have today with us right now, who actually has been connected for some time and saw your pitches, our ITU Director for the Standardization Bureau or Standardization Sector, Dr. Chesa Lee. So Dr. Lee, if you please can enable your video and mic.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ahmed.
Thank you very much for being with us today. It's just an honor, and I hope you you had some time to see some of the pitches or some of the Q&A.
Yeah, I tried to listen to this and very interesting, the pitchings.
That's great. So please, I mean, we're looking forward to your closing remarks right now, and I will switch off my video, add the results of the judges to the live voting, and hopefully would allow you to, I mean, you would be having the honor of saying the winner of today. So please, Dr. Chesa, the virtual floor is all yours.
So how many minutes do you think? Now everything is online, yeah? Automatically check it.
No, we can do it in 1 minute. So you have all the time you need.
Yeah, really nice to. I'm really excited to join of this final pitch, final challenge of this global change of this event. I was very proud of this AI for Good summit, and I'm very pleased. The innovation factory. So you are delivering of this, the promotions of identified the most practical and the innovative AI solutions that can support achieving the UN SDGs. ITU TSB, we follow the innovative solutions of these top startups, let me say innovative champions, and I'm very pleased to have them recognized and announce them as the innovation champions of the AI for Good Innovation Factory year 2020. Yeah, I wish, and next year we have more and more champions. I wish to highlight the importance of AI as a technology, as a tools, taking into account our situations, especially this COVID and online, the contacted environment, and how ITU is working on unleashing its potential for good, in particular in terms of sustainable development goals. It's very important. But recently we have reported our effort the last 10 years on the SDGs is now returned back to the 10 years back. It says that was very unfortunate because of this COVID. So we need more effort, I believe. So I thank, taking this opportunity, I thank the experts who acted as a judge throughout the year to evaluate the startups through this rigorous selection process. And my special thanks to go to Joseph Hawkins and Stephanie Buraki for their generosity in supporting the innovation champions. And my sincere appreciations goes to local and regional partners on their excellent support. I also express my thanks to the AI for Good team for their efforts in accomplishing of this in such a challenging time caused by COVID-19. So I'm waiting now. Let me check it for this. Any information is now available. I heard that of this 210 people voted. And but by the way, Ahmed, how do you say of this such countdown and very soft without any exciting? While I'm listening over your countdown, my beat is my heart is a little beating. So okay, I got a name of this final winner.
Wow. Okay.
Come on. In Asian ways, we got all this drummings of this.
We're gonna add music next time.
Yeah. Any further ado, it's my honor and my pleasure to announce this final winner as Grey Parrot from UK. Congratulations, Grey Parrot from UK. You chose as the final winner.
Congratulations, Michaela, Grey Parrot.
Let me back to floor to MC. I'm really happy. I'm congratulate Grey Parrot.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. Thank you very much for your closing remarks and for saying the winner. And as I say, they're all like innovation champions. They made that far. And actually, before I close quickly, I would like to really ask all the judges and all the startups to maybe enable their cameras, and we can have a group photo, but this time not just the startups and the judges, but actually with the ITU team. So there's a lot of people who are working behind the scenes, hosting this meeting and doing all this stuff. So would you please all open your cameras, and we can have also, I see ITU chat and question, which is our colleague Aida. Please enable your camera as well, everyone, so that we can have a group photo. And this is just a beginning. Really, we're going to take off with these 4 innovation champions and scale it to a much bigger, futures. I think from ITU work, from our judges and investments, and hopefully it's going to take off really well. Thanks again. I would like to thank everyone. And please stay tuned to our ITU AI for Good Global Summit program. We have a lot of things coming next, and you can always follow our weekly programming every week on our website, aiforgood.itu.int. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, I'll just make the group photo with a countdown. So everybody.
Okay, we have a countdown for the group photo. Please, Gina.
So be ready for the group photo. I'll count 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Okay, I'll share this with you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.